how I made a card, and I know I'm crazily off center here, with the Rustic Centerpiece stamp set bundle, or stamp set from Stampin' Up. This is one of the newer stamp sets that's going to be available to order for customers starting on July 1st. It's available right now for demonstrators to pre-order. So, and of course I forgot to mute myself on there. So, if you are a demonstrator, you can get your hands on this stamp set right now. If you are not currently a demonstrator, but are interested in getting your hands on some of this awesome stuff a little early, you can join and add these items to your starter kit. So that is a nice little bonus as well. So, hey, Karen and Sally, thanks for hopping in. I appreciate you being here. So it's a pretty quick card today, actually. The coloring does take a minute on it, but the rest of it's pretty, just a couple of little layers, a couple little die cuts, and it's done. But it's I thought it was such a pretty set, and I loved the way the card turned out, so I decided I was going to go ahead and do it anyway. So, hey, Elise and Danette and Bonnie, thanks so much. All right, so this is the card we're making today, and I apologize. At lunch, of course, was cleaning up the dishes after lunch and somehow cut my finger on a knife. And so, of course, it makes it nice and clumsy for trying to do a video. Hopefully it won't get in the way too much. So this is it. It's just a quick and pretty little card, and a little bit of coloring, a little bit of designer paper, and it's done. So it's really easy. So, hey, Debbie and Marilyn and Stephanie, thanks. I'm glad you're liking the card. So this is the Rustic Centerpiece stamp set, and don't let the sizes of the images on the front of the stamp set case fool you. They are much bigger than what they appear. As you can see, I'll put them side by side. So they're not quite, I mean, it's saying it's 75% of the size of the image. I don't know. They're big. So I know it's so clumsy. I was putting the knife away, and actually, I don't even know how I did it. I just hit a spot on like the very edge of the knife on the very end of it. And I'm like, oh, that kind of hurt for a second, but it won't bleed, I'm sure. And then, of course, anyway, it's a mess. So, all right. So this is the size of the images in here. They're not quite, I mean, they won't cover an entire card front, but you can easily just stamp that image and add a sentiment like I did and make it be the card front. So they're much bigger than what they appear. I'll just say that. All right. Rustic Centerpiece, again, is the name of the stamp set, and it'll be available to order starting on July 1st for those who are not demonstrators. All right, let's set that aside. And then the other thing that I did use on this is another one of the new online exclusive items, again, available to order on the 1st of July. And I used the sentiment out of here, and that was it. But it's got some pretty leaves in it, and it'll be great for two-tone stamping. I can't wait to give it a try. I've seen a couple cards made with it, and they're beautiful. So great to, like I said, it'll be nice just to do some little layering, and I love that it's easy to see through it. It's photopolymer, so you can see through it and see where you're stamping, and you'll get a really pretty card. So, all right. Let's see. I did use the textured notes dies on this. That is what I cut my main image out with, and it's the second largest of the rectangle dies. These are also an online exclusive item, and these are on sale. Buy one, get one 50% off during the month of June. So we'll talk a little bit more about that sale, but this is one of the items that is on the sale. So if you don't have these dies, right now is an excellent time to pick them up and get them for half price if you're buying something else that's a little more expensive than those. And then I did also use the Unbounded Love dies. These are also on the buy one, get one 50% off sale. And I used this larger circle die to cut out my sentiment. So that was all that I did with this one. So, hey, Karen and Sherry and Mario and Stephanie. I don't know if I said hi to you or not. I think I did say hi earlier. Anyway, thanks. Yeah, I got my thumb boo-boo. So, all right, a couple things before we get going on the card. The virtual album retreat. Don't forget that this is happening July 16th to the 18th. And you're going to be making 12 awesome layouts, scrapbooking layouts. So if you're a newer scrapbooker, this would be a great way to kind of get some layouts all done for you. And then, have somebody kind of help you along and get you through the process of making them. It's $250, and that does include all of the materials, the consumable stuff that you see in the pictures here. All of those materials are included in the kit for $250, and then that also gets you access to the retreat. It's a virtual retreat, so it's going to be out on a Facebook page, and if you sign up for it, or if you purchase the kit, then you will get a link to the Facebook page and more details about how they're going to run the retreat and all that good stuff. So, all right, again, July 16th to the 18th, and it will be recorded, and I know that the videos are going to be around for a little while. I don't know exactly how long, but you'll have an opportunity if you can't join live to be able to rewatch them. All right, buy one, get one 50% off sale. As I was yakking about with the dies earlier, there are a whole bunch of things that are on sale. It's all of the suites and the products within the suite. So if they're, if you don't necessarily love the whole suite, but you want to buy a couple things out of it, it's buy one, get one 50% off for the month of June. The only thing that you'll need to know is that it does take the 50% off the lowest priced items. So it's required a little bit of interesting ordering. Like I ended up putting in finally 3 orders to get all the stuff that I wanted. Buy one, get one 50% off to take advantage of the sale the best way that you can. So let me know if you have questions. I'll be happy to help you figure out how to maximize the sale, like I said, before the end of June. And then lastly, online exclusives. As I was talking about, this new stamp set is part of the upcoming online exclusives. There are a lot of great things that are out there already on the online exclusives, and there's a whole bunch of new things that are coming on July 1st. I did do an unboxing video where I show you everything that I bought. There are even some things that I didn't buy, so there's more stuff that's coming than what I showed in my unboxing video last week. But definitely go check that out if you haven't seen it yet. Again, online exclusives are not tied to any catalog. They come and go sort of, I don't know, there isn't really any rhyme or reason to it. Just know that whatever's out there is available while supplies last. Some of the things are restocked, some are not. So anytime you're out there shopping, make sure you're checking those out. To find the online exclusives, go to stampinup.com and then click on the menu button on the upper left and then click on the little round button that says online exclusives, and that will take you to the pages of online exclusives. So, all right. Hey, Carol and Jeffrey, thanks for hopping in, and Daryl's here too. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started on the card. I started with a Cajun Craze card base. My original card base is the 4 1/4 by 11 and scored at 5 1/2 across the top because that is my favorite fold on the card. So it's a top fold card. But I did want to show you that you can use a regular standard book fold card if you prefer that for your card base, because I know not everybody loves the top fold cards like I do. So this one is an 8 1/2 by 5 1/2 and scored at 4 1/4 card base. Again, Cajun Craze is the color that I've used. And I've got a little bit of the Timeless Plaid Designer Series paper. It's one of the pretty panels in that pack of paper. And that one is also a buy one, get one 50% off because that was also part of a suite at one point. So this is cut to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And it should cover the entire card front if I've cut everything correctly. Just used a little bit of multi-purpose liquid glue to adhere this together. I don't love liquid glue, but I do like it for sticking things like this on because it gives me just a little bit of time to wiggle things around before it's stuck down forever. So there we go. Again, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 on the Designer Series paper. Then we're going to do a little bit of stamping here. I've got this large image from the Rustic Centerpiece stamp set, and we're going to be inking that with Tuxedo Black Memento ink. And I'm glad I'm trying not to drop it already. I know that this, the Band-Aid just makes it a little bit more challenging to hold on to things. No, I have trouble with that normally, but the Band-Aid just makes it like super slippery. So hopefully I don't drop everything as we're going through this. Let's stamp this here on some basic white cardstock. Hopefully I didn't stamp it too far over to the edge. I may have. Let me grab my die here and make sure we're going to be okay on that. I think it's going to work. All right. I wasn't paying much attention when I plopped it down. All right. Cajun Craze, wish it was used more often. I'm not a huge orange fan. I am going to be honest. It's not one of my favorite colors, but I do like it for kind of all things fall. I use it a ton in the fall, and then after that, I kind of don't use it a whole lot. So, all right, got a whole pile of blends here that we're going to be using. I'm going to start with Crumb Cake, and I'm going to use the light and dark Crumb Cake to color in the little piece of wood here on the bottom of the image. So, hey, Cindy, thanks for hopping in. And I'm going to use the light Crumb Cake to color in the top of it, which is like the center part of the slice here. And like I said, the coloring is what's going to take the longest on this. The rest of it is just a couple little die cuts and putting things together. And then I'm going to take my dark Crumb Cake, and that's what we're going to use to color in the kind of the bark part of the tree. So there we go. Just going to go right around the edge here. and then down here to the bottom and kind of trace along the edge. Of course, it's not a straight line at the bottom, so you kind of have to be a little aware of where you're coloring at, or have your color lifter handy, which I usually do when I'm coloring things because I sometimes get a little crazy and go out of the lines. But the color lifter to the rescue on that. All right, then we're just going to fill in the center here with the dark crumb cake marker. All right, it's almost done there. And then I'm going to kind of come back in where there's a little bit of shading on the image and just add in, it's not really going to show up very well, but it adds a little extra kind of layer of color and gives it a little more dimension with the dark marker. If you come back in and kind of color over the top of it, you can layer on more color if you want to do that, which I don't know. Like I said, you can't really tell, but I can tell a little bit here. So, all right. What's the candy corn colored top Stampin' Blends? I mean, this one? I'm assuming this is the one you're talking about. This is Cajun Craze. So, all right. Then we've got light cherry cobbler and dark cherry cobbler, and that's what we're going to be using to color in our apples. And I went back and forth between real red and cherry cobbler and finally decided on cherry cobbler. I don't even know why. But if you like real red better, you can certainly color these in real red, or even Poppy Parade would work. Or if you wanted to do green apples, you could, Granny Apple Green would be a perfect green apple color. All right. Just again, going around the edges here with the light cherry cobbler. And this image is a good one. If you are not that familiar with blends, this set would be a good one to start with because it shows you kind of where all the shading should be. So I'm going to add some dark cherry cobbler in here. And again, they kind of gave us lines and showed us where we should add the additional shading, which makes it much easier, in my opinion, to add the shading then, because I'm not, sometimes I kind of struggle with, well, is the light coming from this side or that side, and making sure that everything's all on the same side. This one, it kind of does it all for us. So, all right, and then I'm going to come back in with the light cherry cobbler and just kind of blend the edges of things here a little bit. All right, same thing on this one. There we go. And I'm intentionally leaving some of it a little bit lighter. I'm going to come back in at one point with the color lifter, but just kind of trying to make it look like there's light coming from one side and hopefully not from everywhere. So again, I'm not that great at coloring. I just color till it looks good to me. All right, I've got light Cajun Craze. So it does have beautiful images. So, hey, Tanya, thanks for hopping in from Kentucky. Oh, out camping this weekend? That'll be fun. So hopefully you're getting some good weather there. It's definitely, we're supposed to get some rain here, so probably not ideal camping weather in New Jersey, but hopefully you don't have that down south in Kentucky. So, all right, coloring along the edges here with the light Cajun Craze and around the bottom of it. All right, and then again, just going to basically fill in everything here with the light Cajun Craze marker. And just doing the edges here. And it doesn't have to be really nicely and neatly colored on the first pass because you're going to add some layers of coloring over the top of it. So don't panic if it looks a little streaky or not as perfect as you want it to look when you initially put the color on. You can always add more layers later and then use your color lifter to kind of move it around and take things away if you want to. All right, coming back in with the dark. Hey, Pauline, thanks for hopping in. So, it's pouring in. Ooh, yikes. hopefully, the weather's good for camping because, like I said, I know we're supposed to get a bunch of rain here in New Jersey. So, all right, and again, I'm just kind of following along the lines here where Stampin' Up! Has nicely added in the little bit of shading lines on here, and I'm just taking my dark Cajun Craze and going over that. And then I'm going to grab the light Cajun Craze and just blend the edges of things together here. And then I will color over everything kind of one more time just to smooth it out a little bit. But just trying to get the edges blended first. And like I said, the coloring definitely is what takes the longest on this one. And then I'm just going to kind of pull across the middle here with my marker. Kind of blend everything together a little bit. And then I'm going to come back at the end of it and actually use the color lifter to take a little bit of color off of here. And I'll show you how I did that in a second, but I want it to kind of dry a little bit before I go and do any color lifting. So it's supposed to rain tonight and tomorrow. Yikes. That sounds about like my kind of luck on things like that. So hopefully you get some nice weather. But all right, I've got Old Olive here, and I've got light Old Olive that I'm starting to color all the leaves in with. So there we go. And we'll get the bigger leaves up here done. And again, I'm just putting the color on initially with the light and not really being too terribly careful about exactly how I color everything in. Just want to get the color on it first. And then I can always come back and add more and make it look pretty and smooth things out a little bit if I don't love the way the color looks initially. So there we go. One more little one down here. A couple more up here. All right. Yeah, I don't know, we kind of went from, it was freezing cold here in New Jersey, and then it was like the heat blaster turned on and we were up in the 80s, like 85 or some crazy thing. Now we've cooled off a little bit, and now we're supposed to have kind of a rainy and I think a little bit cooler weekend this weekend. So I don't know, the weather's been a little wild. All right, dark Old Olive Stampin' Blends marker. And again, I'm just gonna kind of come in where the shaded lines are at and add a little bit of extra shading here. And if you don't like to do, don't want to do all the shading on it, you can layer on more of the light Old Olive. If you don't like the way the dark looks on the image, it's up to you kind of how you want to color it. But this is what I have found that works for me, is just coming in and adding a little bit of dark over the top. And kind of the edges here, anywhere where I think there would be a little bit more shading kind of down here towards the bottom. So, all right. And then again, I'm just going to come back in with the light and kind of blend everything together so that there's not quite such a harsh line on it. And I do promise that once the coloring is done, this card will go together really quickly, but it's just one of those things that it does take a minute to get the coloring done on it. So, all right. School is out officially here. Actually, it was out last week for both of my kids. My older daughter's home from college. She's been home for a couple weeks, but she's taken a summer class, so she's kind of still in school. But my younger one done with school, and I think she's glad to be out of school for a little while and getting to go do something fun. This week she's at a horse camp, so she's pretty excited about that. All right, there we go. And then we're going to grab light and dark Daffodil Delight Stampin' Blends, and that's what I'm going to color in the petals of the flower with. And again, I'm going to start with the light. That's how I find it works best for me, is if I start with the light and kind of color the full image in with the light, and then I can come back in and add dark later and reblend it if I need to with the light. All right, getting the flowers done here. And there we go. And then I'm going to come back in with the dark Daffodil Delight. And again, just coming in here where they've got all those wonderful shading lines for me, showing me exactly where I should add the dark at, which makes coloring the images a lot easier. And I can't wait to color the little reindeer image with the Christmas tree in this set. The succulent image is fine, it's pretty and whatever, but I loved this image and I absolutely love the reindeer image. So I know I'll be making some of those into Christmas cards here soon. So, all right, I'm coming back in with the light and kind of blending things together and making sure that I have the full flower colored in, because sometimes I don't always do a really neat job the first time around. All right. Flower centers, I got pecan pie for the sunflower centers here. And again, starting with light and just putting light over the whole thing. And then coming back in with the dark and adding in a little bit, again, where it's around the edges and the centers, where it showed me that it was a little bit darker. And then the final color is I've got Cajun Craze Stampin' Blends that we're going to color in these little I don't know what kind of leaves these are, and they probably are totally never ever Cajun Craze, but in my world they were, so I colored them Cajun Craze. So, all right. There we go, last couple of these to color. And then I'm going to come back in with a little bit of dark on the Cajun Craze. Again, just putting it where the kind of shadow lines are on the image here. All right, last thing that I need to do is I need to take my color lifter and lift a little bit of the color from here. So I will say my color lifter is kind of on its last legs, so hopefully I can get it to color and lift enough color off of it that you can actually see the difference. It was kind of limping along here yesterday when I used it, but I got it to work, so I think it's going to work again. And what I'm doing is just kind of making a little zigzaggy line here, and it's slowly lifting the color off. And I'm going to give it just a second to dry, and I may go ahead, actually I'm probably going to go ahead and, well, I'm going to let it sit for a minute because I can see it's still lightening. I don't know how well you can see it on here, but it's, you can see there's a little lighter spot on it from the color lifter. So I'll have to run a new lifter up. I know, actually I have one in an order. I just need to submit the order, and I didn't realize it until I was coloring with it yesterday that my color lifter is on its last leg, and I better get a new one ordered. Oh, and I forgot to color the little stems on the apples. Let me grab my pecan pie. Color in the little apple stems, and I think that's it. So, so there you go. That's it. Like I said, the color lifter just picks up a little bit of the color, and I removed a little of the color from the apple as well. So it kind of makes it look a little bit lighter in the one spot. If you like that look, you can do it. If you don't love it, you don't have to do it, but I just thought it made it look a little more, I don't know, realistic is probably not the right word, but I liked the way it looked, so I did it. All right. I've got one of the Textured Notes dies, and again, these are also an online exclusive item, and I'm just going to take it, put it around my image here, and I want the image shifted a little bit to the left because I know my sentiment's going to go over here on the right, so I'm going to go die cut this. I'll be right back. There we go. Popping that out of the die. And then I'm going to bring my card front back in here, and we're going to grab some Stampin' Dimensionals to stick this to the card front. I'm glad y'all are liking the card. So like I said, it's a pretty quick and easy image to color. Now it did take a few minutes, but definitely not one of the really difficult and really intricate images that you have to worry a whole lot about getting everything to look perfect. So that's why I like usually I always recommend starting with a floral image, and this is basically a floral image because they're pretty forgiving. So, all right, gonna take this and roughly center it top to bottom and side to side. The plaid does make it a little easier to get it on hopefully straight, but that doesn't always guarantee anything when I'm doing it. All right, got some linen thread, and we're gonna tie a little bow here, and hopefully my big thumb band-aid won't get in the way too much on this, but there we go. And I do have more linen thread here, so no worries on that. I don't ever run out of that stuff. I always have like 5 spares in my drawer because I use this stuff all the time. All right, gonna snip off the little extras here. There we go. Try not to cut my fingers again. And then I've got a glue dot that we're gonna stick this on. So just gonna grab that off of here, and then stick it here on the card front, and it's gonna look not very pretty, but that's okay because nobody's gonna see it. Well, you and I will see it, and we'll know that it's there and looks ugly, but nobody else will because it's gonna be hidden by the sentiment. So, all right, we're just gonna take that and kind of stick it on at a little bit of an angle here, just like that to the card front. Then we're gonna grab another little piece of basic white cardstock and some early espresso early espresso ink. And I've got the Artistic Leaves sentiment here. It says grateful for you. And we're just gonna ink that up, stamp it here on the basic white panel. And then gonna grab my Unbounded Beauty or Unbounded Love dies. And I'm gonna grab the larger of the 2 circle dies, and we're just gonna go ahead and cut that out as well. So I'll be right back. I'll put that back and get those out of the way. Then I'm going to grab a couple of Stampin' dimensionals. Actually, I need to cut another row of them, so if you haven't seen me do it, I'll show you how I cut my dimensionals. So the sheet would normally be like this, and I basically just go here right along the center of one of those little dots and cut them in half. Now, I know not everybody loves half dimensionals like I do. If you don't love the half dimensionals, you can always use the whole ones or the minis, but I like these a little bit better because, I don't know, the minis I struggle with because the little wrapper things are too small and my fingers are big and fat and they don't always work well together. So as I was yakking, I was putting the Stampin' dimensionals on. I actually put them on the card front or I try to when I've got a bow or something on it, just so that I don't accidentally end up with a dimensional on the top of the bow and then you get a weird lump in your sentiment. So I usually try to put them on the card front when I'm using a sentiment like this, that it's easy enough to do that. All right, and then the final piece is a couple of the these are adhesive back textured dots, and I'm just going to add a couple of those on here. So I'm going to put one of them sort of here on the plaid part, and then another one over here on the white part. And if you want to add a third little dot somewhere, you certainly can. I liked the way it looked with two, so that's what I did. But if you're going to put a third one on, you could put it up here, over here, wherever. So, all right, that's it for the card front. So like I said, it's pretty quick and easy to do. It's just a matter of making sure that you get it all colored. So, hey, Marie, thanks for hopping in. And unfortunately, the translation thing is not turned on my comments, so I'll have to go back and see what you said. I apologize. I can't read it. So, but I know Google Translate will tell me what it is. So, all right. I've got a little piece of the Designer Series paper from the Timeless Plaid 6x6 Designer Series paper. This is just a little piece that I trimmed away when I was cutting my card front. So you always cut your dimensionals. I learned that ages ago from my original upline with Stampin' Up, and I've always done it just because I like the way they fit better. And I was doing that long before the minis came along, and I tried the minis, but I don't know, I just didn't love them. So I just stuck with my chopped in half dimensionals. All right, I'm going to take this and put it on the inside of the card, lining it up here. And then I'm going to go ahead and flip it closed and do a quick crease with the bone folder, and that is it. So again, this beautiful new stamp set is called Rustic Centerpiece, and it's going to be available to order starting on the 1st of July for customers, and it's available right now for demonstrators to pre-order. So if you don't have it yet and you're a demonstrator, get on it and buy it because it's beautiful and you'll love it. And yeah, if you are a customer, hang on till July 1st and you'll be able to order it then. So thanks everybody for hopping in. I appreciate you being here. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend. I'll plan to be live around next week. I want to say it'll be 2 o'clock Eastern time on Tuesday, but there's a summer camp thing that my daughter's doing next week, so I may kind of have to change times around, but I'll let you know. Just keep an eye on my blog and on my Facebook page, and I'll let you know when I'm going to go live. So thanks again, everybody, for being here. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and we'll chat with you all soon.